Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
Have you ever looked at world events and just felt like something's off? Like it's not all just chaos and random chance? Well, today we're going to dive deep into a theory that says you might be right. We're exploring the idea of a hidden power structure, a sort of invisible government that's been quietly pulling the strings of history for a very, very long time.
This quote from A.E. Waite, it absolutely nails the core idea. It's suggesting that the history we learn in school, the big battles and famous leaders, that's just the stuff happening on the surface. The real action, the stuff that actually causes those big changes, is happening deep down in the shadows.
So the central idea we're unpacking is this. Major wars, stock market crashes, even huge political shifts, they aren't just accidents. According to this framework, they're all carefully planned moves in a very long game. We're going to map out one of the most detailed versions of this theory, which is often shown as a pyramid of control.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start at the very, very top of this pyramid and work our way all the way down layer by layer. We'll look at the groups, the institutions, and the methods that supposedly make up this whole global control system.
All right, let's jump right in at the absolute peak. The theory claims that the top spot isn't held by presidents or tech billionaires we see on the news. No, it's supposedly occupied by ancient, powerful bloodlines whose roots go back, well, pretty much to the dawn of civilization.
And this is where things get really wild. The theory's most esoteric claim is that these ruling families aren't entirely human. It suggests they trace their lineage all the way back to the Nephilim from the Book of Genesis. According to the source material, this is why myths about dragons and fairies are everywhere. They're seen as symbolic trackers for these ancient male and female lines of descent.
This idea of revolving door civilizations is how that ancient power is thought to have survived. It points to weird historical coincidences, like rulers in completely different parts of the world, centuries apart, who look and act almost exactly the same. It suggests not just a continuous family line, but maybe even an immortal ruling class. And here's the kicker. This whole theory kind of faded away right around the time photography was invented, which would have made it a lot easier to prove or disprove, wouldn't it?
Okay, moving one layer down. This is where the big plans from those bloodlines are supposedly put into motion. This is the world of secret societies, the boots on the ground, so to speak, who are tasked with carrying out this multi-generational plan.
The theory claims that groups like the Bilderberg Group aren't just influencing policy, they're literally pre-selecting world leaders years before they're ever elected. Think tanks like Skull and Bones at Yale are seen as the ultimate recruitment agency for this shadow government. And then you have groups like the Jesuit Order, who are alleged to be master puppeteers, using organizations like the Council on Foreign Relations to control entire governments from behind the curtain.
And this quote, supposedly from an Illuminati oath, really drives home the level of commitment we're talking about. This isn't just a club for powerful people to network. It's about totally giving up your own will, your own opinions, for the good of the order. It ensures absolute loyalty and, of course, total secrecy.
Okay, but how does a secret society actually control millions of people? Well, the next layer of the pyramid is all about how that influence is supposedly projected into the real world. It's done through the control of the big global institutions we all know: finance, media, and politics.
Let's look at a key example. The theory goes that back in 1811, when the U.S. Congress refused to renew the charter for a private central bank, a threat was made. And what happened next? The War of 1812, a war financed by those very same banking interests. This narrative draws a straight line between private central banking and the deliberate creation of wars.
And of course, if you want to manage how people think, you have to control the flow of information. This theory claims that a very small group of international bankers has controlling stakes in almost all major media. We're talking news wires like Reuters and the AP, the big TV networks, even the Hollywood movie studios. The implication is pretty clear. What we see and hear is carefully filtered to fit their narrative.
This really highlights the whole idea of a public-facing organization having a hidden purpose. To the world, the CFR is a super respectable foreign policy think tank. But within this conspiracy framework, it's seen as something totally different, a front group, a proxy that allows a much older organization to secretly steer the entire U.S. government.
So this brings us down to the base of the pyramid. This is all about the machinery allegedly used to manage us, the general population. How are our thoughts, our beliefs, and even our behaviors controlled on a mass scale.
This is where modern psychology and old-school propaganda collide. The idea of mimetic warfare is basically about hacking culture by bypassing our rational minds. You don't argue with facts, you target primal emotions, fear, desire, tribalism. By doing that over and over, you can slowly make even the most radical ideas seem normal. It's about managing our entire environment so that we end up wanting what the architects of the system want us to want.
And look, this isn't seen as some newfangled idea. The theory connects these modern digital techniques all the way back to very real, documented government programs, like the CIA's infamous MK-Ultra project, which literally experimented with trauma and drugs to see if mind control was possible.
But maybe the biggest tool of all is the financial system itself. In this model, it's basically an energy harvesting machine. Your time, your labor, your life force, it's all exchanged for money that private banks create out of thin air. And those huge economic crashes, they're not accidents. They're described as a calculated shearing, designed to transfer massive amounts of wealth from the public up to the very top. And at the peak of that system sits the Bank for International Settlements in Switzerland, the central bank for all the other central banks.
So after all of this, all these layers of control, from ancient bloodlines all the way down to mimetic warfare, what's the point? What's the end game? Where is this all supposed to be headed?
The ultimate goal, often called the Great Work in these circles, is said to be the creation of a single global government. And this wouldn't be a democracy. We're talking about a kingdom, ruled by one monarch who is believed to have supernatural powers and be a direct descendant of that same divine race from the very top of the pyramid. It's the final move: dissolve all nations and religions into one new global order.
And this whole thing leaves us with a massive, thought-provoking question. The theory we've just walked through basically defines power as the ability to make people believe that ideas, like the value of a dollar or of the authority of a government, are solid, concrete realities. It really challenges us to ask ourselves, how much of our world is built not on hard facts, but on shared beliefs? And more importantly, who benefits from making sure we all keep believing?